Good evening, everybody. Happy St. Patrick's Day. A few hours early. My name is Mark Barrett. I am a retired judge and a third-degree Knight of Columbus, and I hold the office of Lector of the Santa Maria Council here. I have the honor tonight to introduce a friend and a fellow attorney, Alfred Vitarelli, who will speak on the subject of Our Lady's apparition in 1879, appropriately in Ireland, in the town of Knock, in the county of Mayo. Mr. Vitarelli is a graduate of both Rutgers University undergraduate and Rutgers University School of Law. He is a practicing attorney at present. He's a former adjunct professor of law for 15 years at Winder School of Law, which I believe is in Chester, Pennsylvania. I get confused. Where is it? It's in Wilmington, Delaware. Okay. All right. I stand corrected. He is a fourth-degree Knight of Columbus and a member of this council, Santa Maria 1443. He is further serves the Universal Church as a member of the Knights of the Equestrian Order of the Holy Sepulchre of Jerusalem. And that subject is worthy, as I've mentioned on other occasions, of a hour-long talk in itself. But now today, the general area is Ireland, and the particular subject is the apparition of Our Lady of Knock in 1879. And I'm going to hand you over now to Mr. Vitarelli. In case anybody asks, that's my wife, that's my When I was asked to give this talk a few months ago, I guess, I said, sure. I gave one once before here on Marian apparitions and world. Do we have a microphone?
I'll check. I don't have one right now.
Oh, are we getting this one? Yeah. Okay. No, I mean the.
Yeah, I guess I'll check with. What was it?
I don't know what it is.
Okay. I'll check right now.
Something's missing. Yeah, we're gonna. I don't.
Okay. Just try to project a little bit, and you should be all right.
All right. Judge, thank you very much for your kind introduction, and I thank everybody for showing up tonight on this nasty night. I apologize, we had to move this at the last minute because of the snow and ice on Tuesday. I'm sure we did the smart thing, but unfortunately, every time you change things, you lose some people. But I thank all of you for coming out. You're the tough ones. I appreciate that. So, what I'm going to speak tonight is on Knock. Now, when I was first asked to present a program on Knock, I said, of course, because I did one before on Marian apparitions in world events. That's on YouTube if anybody's interested. Just go into the YouTube search bar, Santa Maria 1443 presentations, and you'll see mine. You'll see Judge Barrett's presentation on religious freedom as well. So I said, sure, be glad to do it. It's one apparition, it's in Ireland, the Queen of Ireland. Well, this is great. I'll do it, no problem. By last week, I was starting to think to myself, what did I get into? By this week, instead of on the snow day enjoying a blizzard party with friends, I nursed a sinus infection through more computer searches. And I realized that Our Lady of Knock goes so far beyond the immediate apparition. It goes so far beyond County Mayo. It goes so far beyond Ireland. It reaches out into the world, not only in distance, but in time. It's an amazing story. One that, I'll be honest with you, I cannot tell you all in one evening. I could teach a course over a semester about what I've learned just beyond anything I expected. So what I'm going to do is start off by just saying something about Knock. All right? I know at least one of you have been here, have been to Knock. Knock is in County Mayo, Ireland. And here we have a little map of Ireland, and you can see Knock is right here in the west, in County Mayo. Now, people have asked me, what are you doing a story on an Irish saint, on an Irish apparition? The Queen of Ireland. You're Italian. Why don't you do something about a Sicilian? Okay, first of all, my great-grandmother was born here, in Cavan, on the border, on the front line, so to speak. The woman wouldn't allow orange in her house. So that makes it, that boosts up to 1/8, probably at least a quarter, all right? Secondly, okay, here you go. Before it was 2 years ago, Irish rosary with a drop of Knock water. Who knew 2 years ago I'd be speaking here? Now, the crucifix was made in Italy, but that's besides the point. And finally, I have a great love for Irish whiskey. That's a joke. But seriously, it's funny how you can have one relative who's Irish and feel like you're always part Irish. It's just amazing. So I really jumped at this opportunity. So there you have Knock here in the west. And moving on, here's an overall shot. And I want to thank Eric Leva, who's back there kneeling down trying to put together our audio. He put this slide presentation together, and it's really great the way he did it. This is a very early picture of Knock, probably, well, this is probably in the teens, judging by the cars. Maybe 1920, but more like 1915, 1916. And the apparition actually occurred here on the gable. And you can see faintly the statues there. This is shot right onto the gable itself where the apparition occurred here. And you can see the people are starting to mill around the pilgrims already. And this probably dates from well within a year of the actual apparition, which was 1879. I'm going to go over that too, don't worry about that. This is actually, I believe, taken in 1880, 1 year after, or within 1 year. And you notice there's a little shrine and some fencing being put in. So hopefully you can all see that up there. But we take our next picture, and it's not fencing. Within a year or two, the healings that have occurred here, you can see just, I'm sure these are not all of the crutches and the canes and the other prosthetic devices of those who've already been healed at Knock. So just speaking from a religious point of view, from a faith point of view, for the love of our Blessed Mother, we have many, many healings occurring here. And this is Archdeacon Kavanaugh. He was the priest at the time of the apparition. Now, this is one of the witnesses, Mary O'Connell. She died in 1936, having been a witness on August 21, 1879. And her last words basically were, "I'm clear about everything I've said, and I make this statement knowing I am going before my God." Now, before we go any further, let's talk about the apparition itself. Knock, for those who aren't familiar with it, is unique. It's really a unique apparition in the sense that, first of all, Mary was not alone at this apparition. Mary appeared in the pouring rain against the gable, in the pouring rain. She was not alone. Most apparitions, she is alone. Lourdes appeared to Bernadette. Fatima, she was preceded by the angel of peace, but she was otherwise alone. And in most apparitions, she'll appear herself. And in my earlier speaking on the Marian apparitions in the world events on YouTube, hint, we showed a couple of others where she was with, like, St. Michael at one. But here she's really not alone. She is with an entourage, not to be flippant. These are more modern pictures of it, which we'll come back to. But to talk about, we put the Monsignor who actually built the shrine and the airport there, that's another story, because our Grand Knight is Haran, but unfortunately he's not here, but we're drafting him as an actual descendant of Monsignor Haran. So let's talk about the apparition itself. When I say she was not alone, she had, as you can see, an accompaniment. And that's what makes this very unique, among other things. We have the Blessed Mother. We've got the Blessed Mother, crowned as Queen of Heaven, Queen of Ireland, Queen of the world. To her left appeared St. Joseph in a posture of reverence, prayer, and actually protectiveness. Here to her left, or right, is St. John the Evangelist. In his right hand, he's holding his fingers in prayer. In his left, the book. To the center of the apparition is an altar. And on that altar, as you can see, is the Lamb of God, with the cross indicating the ultimate sacrifice of the Lamb, surrounded by angels. This is what the witnesses saw. Now, this is a modern, obviously, beautifully done piece of art. But when the apparition actually appeared, it was in the pouring rain. And the second thing that's unique about this, she wasn't just seen by one person, such as Bernadette at Lourdes, or three little children, as at Fatima. She was seen by the village. There were at least 20 people who came, probably many more. 15 actually gave statements. And it was pouring rain, yet the area under the gable where she was bone dry. Not a drop of water hit. Some people, and this lasted 2 hours, some people came close, grabbed for her knees in supplication, and the image would back up, but it remained bone dry. So a second uniqueness, again, she is with the entourage. Another unique part, and this is what made this so hard, she doesn't say a word. During the entire 2 hours, not one word was spoken, not one word was, nothing, no sounds, not even mental images. Some seers over the years have received her messages not through voice, but through impressions. Nothing. Simply 2 hours with the Blessed Mother, St. Joseph, St. John, the Lamb of God, the altar, and the angels. This is what makes this so hard when I realized, what am I getting into? Because the implications The interpretations, the analysis takes us every which way. This has made it hard and fascinating, and I wouldn't have given it up for the world. So, to go into why was this apparition? Why did it appear? I mean, she didn't have a message. She came with a group. She was silent, and she was seen by the entire village. Let's do just a little background of Ireland. Okay? You don't have to be Irish or born there or be a third generation Irish American to know that Ireland was a very, very tormented country. As you know, we have the St. Patrick, who brought Christianity, Catholicism to Ireland. And then the Troubles began some years later in the mid-12th century. And that's all she wrote for Irish freedom and Catholicism for a long time. King Henry VIII, 1507, made himself King of Ireland, put English lords in charge of confiscated Irish lands, destroyed Catholic monasteries, destroyed Catholic churches, just as happened in England. This happened for many, many years. There actually are people, scholars, who are calling this an attempt at Catholic extinction in Ireland as it was attempted in England. Then we had something that I learned. I never heard this before. We all know that the English and maybe one or two other European nations brought slaves to America. We can't, I mean, you have to know that, obviously. I never knew that the English kidnapped and brought as slaves to the Americas, to Canada, and to the Caribbean Irish people. King James alone is said to have taken 30,000 Irish prisoners, obviously political prisoners, to the New World as slaves. In the mid-1600s, it's estimated that the English had sold 300,000 Irish citizens into slavery. And at least 500,000 were killed. It's estimated that in one decade, the Irish population during this time dropped from 1.5 million to 600,000. It's believed that about 100,000 Irish children between the ages of 10 and 14 and was formally granted a coronation to the Basilica of Our Lady of La Salette by Pope Leo XIII. And there was an impressive ceremony when Pope Leo granted this coronation. The statue of Our Lady at La Salette was crowned by the papal legate. There was a huge assembly of bishops, priests, lay people, and they announced that the basilica would be consecrated and the statue of Our Lady would, by the Pope's leave, be crowned. It was just the biggest religious event in France up to that point. On that very same day, the apparition appeared at Knock. So there you have some people saying Knock is a prophecy which is carrying forth in time and in space to Ireland the warnings of La Salette. That's a more ominous interpretation than the one which talks about this as the representation of a Catholic Mass and the worship of the Eucharist and of Christ. So I was really interested to see that connection. And again, in the religious vein, there is another theory which says this affirms another dogma of the Catholic Church. If you remember Our Lady of Lourdes, she appeared to Bernadette, who was a very poor peasant girl, no education. And when the little girl asked, "Who are you?" she replied, "I am the Immaculate Conception." Well, that's like asking someone from, name the poorest, most remote place on earth, and them telling you something about rocket science. Because only 4 years before Bernadette saw the Blessed Mother at Lourdes, the Church had officially approved the dogma of the Immaculate Conception. There was no conceivable way she could have known that. But that apparition at Lourdes is said by many to be an affirmation
of the church's dogma of the Immaculate Conception. There's also a theory that says this is another affirmation of a church dogma. And this does not concern our Blessed Mother, but rather this concerns St. Joseph. Because in 1870, Pope Pius IX entrusted himself and all the faithful to the Patriarch St. Joseph's most powerful patronage. And he was solemnly declared patron of the Catholic Church. St. Joseph, patron of the Catholic Church. 9 years later, we see him there. He's turned to Our Lady, the head slightly inclined. And some people say that Joseph is telling us that in these most troublesome times, we should turn to our Blessed Mother. And I think that's really, really a solid on interpretation of that. But here again, we have a tie-in to Lourdes. These are just a few of them. Again, I can't possibly go into all of them. It could be a course. And when I started doing this, I thought, okay, well, it's a silent apparition. It's unique. Okay. No, it just keeps going and going and going. And for those of you who really enjoy this type of research, I really encourage you to look into it. There are so many resources available on the web to study Knock, to study the other apparitions, how they tie in. It's really a fascinating, fascinating topic, and it's very, very rewarding spiritually as well. How are we on time now? Okay. Does anybody have any questions? I'd be happy to answer them all. Yes.
Yeah, there was another Marian apparition back in 1960, I think in Spain. I can't think of the...
Garabandal.
Garabandal. Does that have any tie into La Salette?
I have not, there was no reference to it in the research materials I was studying. However, Garabandal is very much tied into Fatima, Medjugorje, even Tre Fontani. I believe we're planning on doing another talk in the fall on Fatima. If I do it or whoever does it, I'm definitely going to notice that Garabandal has to be discussed because it's almost like an apocalyptic apparition. Yes?
Al, a question. On this rainy day in 1879, the Blessed Mother, St. Joseph, St. John all appeared. How did people know that they were there? It was a rainy day.
It's a beautiful story. People, you're asking me, how do they know to go there?
Yeah.
Knock was a tiny village. Tiny. There may have been 50 homes. It's out in the field. A farmer in his field saw a glow. One of the women who closed up the church at night left, went to visit a sick friend, passed by, saw the glow, and rumors spread. Soon everybody knew that the Blessed Mother was here. The only person we know who was not there, who did not come out to look, was Archdeacon. More time for water. Excuse me. Archdeacon Kavanaugh. He did not come out for whatever reason, and he regretted it ever since. But the glow was so great, and the people immediately saw this is the Blessed Mother and everyone else, that the word spread like fire through the village. And it lasted 2 hours. Amazing apparition. Anybody else? As I said, this was really hard because it's like I want to get everything out, and it's not possible. And we could, I'm sure there's a whole course on it somewhere in the.
Al?
Yeah.
You showed a picture of old crutches up on a wall.
Yeah.
Is there still a lot of...
Well, as you can see now, no, it's pretty modern now.
You want to go back to that?
I want to go to the one you put, the modern one. No, we'll go to the modern one. Now, as you can see, there you are. Go back one, would you, Eric? One more. As you can see, those are no longer here. But what's really interesting is, as I said, the Blessed Mother is also Queen of the Rosary. And wherever she speaks, it's invariably pray the Rosary and worship the Eucharist. As you can see over here, there's a huge rosary on the side wall telling pilgrims, pray the Rosary. So no, they're not there. However, you know, Mark, Judge,
Yes.
your mother actually witnessed a healing, did she not?
At knock, yes.
Could you tell us about it?
Well, if I can remember what she told me about 60 years ago, that in the late 1920s, probably around 1928 or 29, she was attending Mass at Knock. She was born and lived in a place called Dunmore, County Galway, which was probably about 25 or 30 miles from Knock, County Mayo. Her father was actually, as they say over there, a mailman. And they were attending Mass at the old Knock Church. It didn't look like that then. It would be like the one that's up there is early 1900s. And the crippled people who are there for healing or whatever, they're always moved to the front. They're in the first few rows, or they're in the open space between the altar rail and the front pews. There was a girl there in a wheelchair who had paralysis of both legs. My mother didn't know it, didn't know what was wrong with anybody there. There was quite a few people there. And at one point in the Mass, my mother heard a loud scream and a female voice, and she looked up and she saw this girl had gotten out of her wheelchair and started walking towards the priest and continued to walk about, completely healed. And then my mother did tell me that wheelchair was put up on the rack as an exhibit, so to speak, of her healing, as a commemoration of her healing as well. And I think my mother was back there a few times and saw the wheelchair, and never really got the full story about who the young lady was or what their medical condition was, but it was just one of many stories. But it was very much alive and well to me, as she described it. She did a very good job as a storyteller.
Good.
Okay.
Great story. Thank you for sharing that.
Now, what will it take to make it an officially recognized by the Vatican?
There is a procedure. It's usually recommended by the local bishop. There's a procedure where they interview, and they've done interviews twice. They interviewed immediately thereafter, and then they interviewed in the 1930s. For whatever reason, there's been to my understanding, no official recommendation from the local authorities to the Vatican, or if there has been, the Vatican has not acted on it. I did copy out some of the, just that issue, and unfortunately I didn't reach it, but if you just bear with me a second. Well, I can't answer that, I just don't have it at hand right now. I'm sorry about that. But you were not, were you not?
Yes, I was.
Were there any of the, was there any evidence of the healings, like the crutches and the wheelchairs and everything, when you were there?
I don't remember seeing it. I was in the big new cavernous church, though. It is cavernous.
Just like you see up here?
Yeah, it is cavernous. And there were several outbuildings. It's so I might not have been in the area where the crutches or the healing matters were.
You know, there.
Yeah. On my visits to Ireland, I never managed to get to Knock. Every other member of my family did. But unlike in other countries where there's major controversies over apparitions, back and forth, sometimes even bishop against bishop, in Ireland the attitude is, she came, we saw her, we really don't care. We're going to venerate the
good one.
site, you know. They have a very laid-back attitude towards the whole thing. Could you tell us about the airport, though?
Excuse me?
Could you tell us about the airport? What you found out about the airport? They say that's the second miracle.
Oh, the second, yeah, well, I did point out that it's one of the 5 international airports.
Yes.
You have Cork,
Yeah.
Dublin, Belfast, Shannon,
Yeah.
and Knock. Here's the answer. Church officials investigated the apparition at Knock in 1879, year of the apparition, and again in 1936. It was found that the witnesses were believable and there was nothing contrary to the faith. Since then, 4 popes have honored the shrine at Knock. Pius XII blessed the banner of Knock at St. Peter's Basilica and decorated it with a special medal in 1945. Pope John XXIII presented a special candle to Knock on Candlemas Day in 1960. Pope Paul VI blessed the foundation stone for the Basilica of Our Lady of Knock in 1974, and Pope John Paul II made a personal pilgrimage to the shrine on September 30, 1979 to observe the centennial of the apparition. In addition, the shrine was graced by the presence of Mother Teresa of Calcutta, who visited the shrine in June 1993. It is estimated that 500,000 pilgrims visit the shrine annually. But why it was not official? Now, I know that a couple, which you all have heard of, I'm sure, the main one being Medjugorje. Medjugorje has never been officially, and the Vatican keeps saying we're going to come out, we're going to come out. And this Pope made a really disparaging remark saying, well, our Blessed Mother isn't a mail carrier. She doesn't bring messages every day. Well, I suggest anybody that's interested in Medjugorje should read a book by one of the seers called My Heart Will Triumph. I ordered it through the Catholic goods store on Route 38, Abbott's. I couldn't put the book down. It's magnificent. It's by Marjana Soldo. It's magnificent. It tells the story, and you have to believe these apparitions. I don't know if it happened. I don't know if it applies to Knock. I have a theory about why Medjugorje will never be officially approved. And if I do the one on Fatima, I'll reveal that secret there, but I want to keep you all waiting to come back. No. In 1981, within a year of the first apparition of our Blessed Mother at Medjugorje, she said, in the end, Russia will give God greatest glory. The West has succeeded in social events or in society, but without God, as if they were their own creator. And then Padre Pio kind of followed up with a comment that Russia is going to give the West a lesson in conversion. So not just politically, all right, Russia versus the West, but you've got the Eastern Orthodox, the Russian Orthodox Church, and the Roman Catholic Church. And I would say that that's a huge barrier to official approval. I'm not saying I know, I don't know, but understanding the way what has been said, I bet you that's a big part of it, why Medjugorje is not approved. Knock has none of those controversies, so why, I don't know. Any other comments or questions? Yes.
Yeah, I'd like to make a comment that maybe some of these apparitions of Our Lady are one of faith, where a message doesn't have to be given. God doesn't always cure everyone. He doesn't always, Mother Teresa, for 50 years she had the dark night of the, feeling that
The dark night of the soul.
And sometimes I think, to build our faith up, we have to, the lesson of Knock is that perseverance and faith are
Approval. Well, I don't know why they would not approve it. I would certainly think that the local bishops would have pushed it and pushed it and pushed it, but unfortunately they did not. What I can do is, I think I have some other documents here I can give you an answer to, but to do this on camera,
I already lost them to a basketball game, I think.
Okay.
Well, I can't answer that. I just don't have it in hand right now.
All right.
I'm sorry about that. But you were not, were you not?
Yes, I was.
Were there any of the, was there any evidence of the healings, like the crutches and the wheelchairs and everything when you were there?
I don't remember seeing it. I was in the big new cavernous church though. It is cavernous.
Just like you see up here?
Yeah, it is cavernous. And there were several outbuildings. It's, so I might not have been in the area where the crutches or the healing matters were.
You know, there,
Yeah. On my visits to Ireland, I never managed to get to knock. Every other member of my family did. But unlike in other countries where there's major controversies over apparitions, back and forth, sometimes even bishop against bishop, in Ireland the attitude is, she came, we saw her, we really don't care. We're going to venerate the saint, you know. They have a very laid-back attitude towards the whole thing. Could you tell us about the airport, though?
excuse me?
Could you tell us about the airport? What you found out about the airport? They say that's the second miracle.
Oh, the second, yeah, well, I did point out that it's one of the 5 international airports.
Yes.
You have Cork,
Yeah.
Dublin, Belfast, Shannon,
Yeah.
and Knock. Here's the answer. Church officials investigated the apparition at Knock in 1879, year of the apparition, and again in 1936. It was found that the witnesses were believable and there was nothing contrary to the faith. Since then, 4 popes have honored the shrine at Knock. Pius XII blessed the banner of Knock at St. Peter's Basilica and decorated it with a special medal in 1945. Pope John XXIII presented a special candle to Knock on Candlemas Day in 1960. Pope Paul VI blessed the foundation stone for the Basilica of Our Lady of Knock in 1974, and Pope John Paul II made a personal pilgrimage to the shrine on September 30, 1979 to observe the centennial of the apparition. In addition, the shrine was graced by the presence of Mother Teresa of Calcutta, who visited the shrine in June 1993. It is estimated that 500,000 pilgrims visit the shrine annually. But why it was not official? Now, I know that a couple, which you all have heard of, I'm sure, the main one being Medjugorje. Medjugorje has never been officially, and the Vatican keeps saying we're going to come out, we're going to come out. And this Pope made a really disparaging remark saying, well, our Blessed Mother isn't a mail carrier. She doesn't bring messages every day. Well, I suggest anybody that's interested in Medjugorje should read a book by one of the seers called My Heart Will Triumph. I ordered it through the Catholic goods store on Route 38, Abbott's. I couldn't put the book down. It's magnificent. It's by Marjana Soldo. It's magnificent. It tells the story, and you have to believe these apparitions. I don't know if it happened. I don't know if it applies to Knock. I have a theory about why Medjugorje will never be officially approved. And if I do the one on Fatima, I'll reveal that secret there, but I want to keep you all waiting to come back. No. In 1981, within a year of the first apparition of our Blessed Mother at Medjugorje, she said, in the end, Russia will give God greatest glory. The West has succeeded in social events or in society, but without God, as if they were their own creator. And then Padre Pio kind of followed up with a comment that Russia is going to give the West a lesson in conversion. So not just politically, all right, Russia versus the West, but you've got the Eastern Orthodox, the Russian Orthodox Church, and the Roman Catholic Church. And I would say that that's a huge barrier to official approval. I'm not saying I know, I don't know, but understanding the way what has been said, I bet you that's a big part of it. Why Medjugorje is not approved. Knock has none of those controversies, so why, I don't know.
I said, thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Into the dining table.
There were people of all ages gathered round the gable wall, poor and humble men and women, little children that you called. We are gathered here before you, and our hearts are just the same, filled with joy at such a vision as we praise your name. Golden Rose, Queen of Ireland, all my cares and troubles cease, and as I kneel with love before you, Lady of Knock, my Queen of Peace. Oh, your message was unspoken, but the truth in silence lies. So I gaze upon your vision, and the truth I try to find. Here I stand with John the teacher, and with Joseph at your side, and I see the Lamb of God on the altar glorified. Golden Rose, Queen of Ireland, all my cares and troubles cease, and as I kneel with love before you, Lady of Knock, my Queen of Peace. And the Lamb will conquer, and the woman clothed in the sun will shine her light on everyone. And the Lamb will conquer, and the woman clothed in the sun will shine